Sunday, everybody. Thank you for tuning into The Sweat, presented by Draftkings on Bally Sports Networks. I'm your host, Jessie Coffield. 1 hour chock full of sports betting and DFS advice coming your way all the way up until kickoff at 1 p.m. And let me just remind you, here at Draftkings, we love giving you the chance to win $1 million. And week 3 is no exception, folks, okay? You can play in the NFL 4.5 million fantasy football millionaire contest right now and get a shot at that $1 million prize. It's just $20 to enter, and not only will the winner earn that big cash prize, they'll also pick up a seat in the Draftkings Tournament of Champions in January, which will feature another $1 million for the winner. So head over to the Draftkings lobby now and enter. So back to why we're here, right? This show is all about helping you make the best plays for your daily fantasy lineups. That's just what we do. We're also very fond of getting you the edge on the Draftkings Sportsbook. So to get the ball rolling on the Sportsbook side of things, I'm going to hand it over to my co-host, Emerson Lotzia.
Thank you so much, Your Grace. And speaking of royalty, I've got DraftKings contributors, Reed T. Fowler here in his grandfather's shirt, Steve Buchanan over there.
My shirt.
You guys are hanging with me on the desk. That's your shirt,
Yeah.
right? Julian Edlow from his man closet. This segment is called Early Edge. You guys share with us your favorite bet of the day. Steve, start us off. You're heading to America's team, the Jacksonville Jaguars.
To not cover against the Cardinals. Let's not get that, conflicted here. Look, I mean, the Jaguars have been a disaster if they're America's team so far this season. They're 0-2 against the spread and have failed to cover by an average of 11.8 points, Emerson Lotzia. I don't know how that's America's team. America's team should be the Arizona Cardinals, who have just been an offensive juggernaut through the first 2 weeks of the season. We just saw Kyler Murray throw for over 400 yards against the Vikings. What do you think he's going to do against a lesser team in the Jacksonville Jaguars? This is a great spot for the Cardinals overall. This is a great teaser piece that you can use as well, because we love those teasers. Shout out Julian Edlow, who got me on board with that. But this is, I have no doubt that the Cardinals are going to cover this game, so favorite bet of the week.
Okay, I think we established early on in week 1, Reed, that those West Coast teams can come to the East Coast and just mash, just like the Cardinals did against Tennessee, right?
Yeah, I think that's a little overblown when you have a West Coast team. Like, the way they travel is much different than the way we travel, right? Like, they're gonna recover. Yes, it can hurt in some cases, injuries, but I'm with Steve here. I don't see how Jacksonville is going to be able to do this. I mean, from a DFS standpoint, which we'll get to obviously later in the show, Trevor Lawrence presents some value, right? You can potentially use that because he can get you some garbage points. But yeah, I don't see how Jacksonville covers here. They can't even get to the quarterback. Even if they did, in this one, Kyler would be able to pick them apart. So yeah, I like it.
Yeah, it's been a little ugly for the Jaguars, Julian. Any chance you see Jacksonville covering here?
No.
Look, the Jags aren't going to win this game. Eventually, they're going to cover a game, though. So, I mean, look, I obviously would go with the Cardinals, where all the money is on DK Sportsbook. And most likely, they'll get this one done by more than a touchdown. But the Jags had been under a touchdown, at least, with the Broncos. So getting that number up there with these giant spreads with Jacksonville, all I'll say is they'll at least cover one at some point, since they're not going to win any of these games. And this is where, even from outside of the studio, I'll just steal the host role from Emerson Lotzia again, because Steve's play transitions so beautifully into mine.
Thanks.
As he did last week, he played the Patriots, and I teased the Patriots and Broncos. This week he plays the Cardinals. I will be teasing the Cardinals and the Ravens as my best bet of the week. So I'm just taking a piece of Steve's, playing it a little bit safer to get him down to that 1.5 range, and doing the exact same thing with Baltimore. Fading yet another team that is pretty awful, the Detroit Lions. They got that backdoor cover in week 1. They played the Packers tough for a half in week 2 before getting their doors blown off. But this Baltimore team is very, very good against lesser competition. They don't lose these games when they're favored by more than a touchdown. And this is a run-first Baltimore offense that gets a very poor Detroit run defense. So I expect Arizona and Baltimore to win these games by more than a point, hopefully covering for Steve as well.
Jules, just real quick, for anyone new to the sports betting world, can you just explain to us what a teaser bet is, like how it works?
Yeah, so as Steve mentioned, I'm the king of the 6-point teaser, and I taught him how to do it. I just taught Reed how to do it this morning, actually, believe it or not.
Wow. Good stuff, guys. We're on top of it here.
It's really something Reed should know. It's absolutely embarrassing. But anyway, what you do is when you put two teams together, rather than go parlay, you slide one tab over and hit teaser, and a standard 2-team 6-point teaser is going to be juiced to -120 on DraftKings Sportsbook. So, for example, if you look at Arizona and Baltimore, I believe if you put their money lines together in a money line parlay right now on DraftKings Sportsbook, it's in the -170, -180 range. So now we just need these teams to win by 2 points. Basically, just don't win by 1 and cost us this. And you get it down to -120. You're saving yourself 65 cents of juice to go with the teaser instead of the money line parlay. So it's a terrific way to get some value on favorites or even get some underdogs like Minnesota, the Rams, home teams that are 1.5-point dogs today, up to over a touchdown at 7.5.
Steve, you like Jules using this option today?
Yeah, I mean, I have no issue with Baltimore covering in this game too as well. They should absolutely steamroll over the Lions. He mentioned that this is not a good team against the run, and Baltimore runs the ball more than anybody. 55.6% of the time, Baltimore has run the ball this season, and even Lamar Jackson is becoming a better passer too. His targets have been going to Marquise Brown and Sammy Watkins, who is actually performing outside of Week 1, which is something we've been wanting for years. But Watkins is doing something out of Week 1. He's not just a Week 1 darling. So between those two portions there, and then Mark Andrews is still in the realm there too as well. There's a lot to like about Baltimore in this game. They should easily cover with that teaser.
So how much do you like Jules buying some points here?
Well, I'm glad Harry Potter has allowed us to get a picture into his under the stairs office here. I appreciate that. And he's right, actually. Use my mistake to your advantage of learning how to use like the sportsbook, right? And learning how, like Julian mentioned, getting these numbers down. And that's the thing, like the value of what you can do with the teaser is obviously you're paying less juice, but even more so, I really liked what he said on the back end there of juicing up the favorites the underdogs at home, right? We know that home dogs do present value in certain spots, so I really, really like that call. But guys, mine is Seattle.
Yes.
-2.
Yeah.
I've been on Seattle quite a bit. My two of my top 3 bets for the best bets for the season have been on Seattle. And we're talking about Minnesota a little bit. And just their defense hasn't really proven to be a defense that we're used to seeing in Minnesota.
And no Dalvin Cook today. It's Alexander Madison.
No Dalvin Cook, and the line is still stay the same. And this is something, too, guys, that you have to think about as well, is that running backs, even star running backs, Saquon Barkley, Dalvin Cook, when they're out, we don't really see that line move that much. And so these star running backs, in terms of a game perspective, doesn't really move lines as much as we see a guy like Zach Martin Week 1 go out. Maybe some shutdown corners that are injured, those lines move. So I really like that it stays the same.
Yep.
I think this is a DK Metcalf game. I think this is a Tyler Lockett game. So I do like Seattle -2.
Steve, giving away a couple points here really shouldn't scare anyone if you believe this team is going to win, especially by like a field goal here.
Yeah, I mean, I think Seattle can cover in this one. I think it's going to be a really close one. Like, I actually like taking the over 54 points in this one. That's probably my favorite play in this game. Obviously, the loss of Dalvin Cook is big for the Vikings, but they have someone who can step right in Alexander Madison. And the Seahawks have been one of the worst run defenses in the league through the first 2 weeks. They've actually given up the most receiving yards to running backs so far this season. That would be a great spot for Dalvin Cook, but even if he is active, he would be very limited. I don't know if he's officially been ruled out or not as of yet, but the idea is even if he is active, he's going to be extremely limited. I do like over 54 points in this one. I think that's where the best bet is for this game, but I also like the Seahawks to win. So if you like the Seahawks to win at -2, it's a very favorable line.
Yeah, Jules, the line's better for Seattle than it is for Minnesota, which obviously is a happy bonus if you believe the Seahawks are going to make it 7 in a row under Wilson against the Vikings.
Yeah, so like Steve said, my favorite bet in this game is one that I put in my best bets article. It's the over in this game, and I wrote it up at 55 earlier in the week. The Cook news didn't necessarily move the spread, but it moved the total. It ticked down a point with Cook out of there. I think Alexander Madison is a fine alternative. I like it even more now at over 54, and you get yourself a push if this winds up landed on a 30-24 type of game. As for the side, I don't, we'll see if Reed, can pull one out of nowhere again like the Cowboys last week. The Chargers left about 30 points on the board.
They did.
Last time I
just don't-
checked,
see
the ending
a
score
side.
of a game is actually what wins the bet, not what should have happened,
Wow.
Julie. But now
Wow,
my best
that's
bets are
actually a
2-0.
good point there.
I've
That
been
is a good point.
2-0 in best bets, and I chose dogs at plus money while
Wow.
these dopes are giving out favorites to win.
Yeah, Jules.
Sorry, Steve, I didn't mean to.
I mean, I hope Seattle wins. I have a pretty big future on them to make the
nice.
playoffs. When I spoke with Johnny Avello on the Unreasonable Odds podcast, he's the director of race and sportsbook operations at Draftkings.
Love that
he
guy.
said that he thought the wrong team was favored and that this one would close with Minnesota as a favorite. We've seen some sharp money there, but not enough to necessarily move it. I just think this is an angry 0-2 team that easily could have won both games and been 2-0 so far. They really need to get this one at home. Seattle can win it too. I just think this is a coin flip game that I'm not willing to get invested in.
All right, guys. Really, really nice work. Coming up, you two will give your favorite underdogs to bet on in Week 3. But first, our pal Pat Mayo is giving us his favorite game stacks on this NFL Sunday.
I'm Pat Mayo with your Week 3 DraftKings picks and the game stacks you need to be looking at this week. There are 3 games with projected point totals over 55. You got the Chargers and the Chiefs. That one's not bad, obviously. You got the Rams and Bucks. That one's a bit trickier because of how spread out all of the action is going. Yeah, Cooper Kupp is going to be great. Chris Godwin also projects to be great. Don't worry about what's going on in the Rams backfield because no one's going to try to run against Tampa. But we don't know, as I'm recording this right now, whether or not Antonio Brown is going to play. So maybe you can get yourself a cheap member of the Buccaneers passing game. But Mike Evans probably gets Jalen Ramsey. So Godwin, Gronk, and Brady with Cooper Kupp as a bring back. Maybe Tyler Higbee in his spot. No one's using Robert Woods. Finn Jefferson is a very popular sleeper this week. There's just a lot of options on that side. And then you have probably my favorite one, the one that's going to be the lowest owned, Seattle and Minnesota. I like Seattle to win this game, so you need to figure out the proper bring back here. Now, very rarely do Lockett and DK Metcalf go off in the same contest. This could be one of those contests, however, and the way that you could look at it is, hey, maybe I'll play one of those guys. Maybe I won't use the Russell Wilson side. Maybe I'll think that this is a Chris Carson game. He can find, we just saw him score 2 touchdowns, maybe he can get some yardage and catches along with it and really propel himself up. That would be nice. However, he's pretty cheap. He's in the low $6,000 range. And then on the other side, if you want a triple stack, you can go with Cousins, Jefferson, and Adam Thielen. Maybe you want to pivot off of one of those guys and use Tyler Conklin to save a bunch of money at tight end. Or KJ Osborne, who just continues to go off every single week. He's $3,500. There's so much goodness in this game that if you can figure out the right combination of players to use, that is a game stack that is pretty nice. Now, you can do some mini game stacks along the way as well. And this isn't to say that I don't like the Chiefs stack or the Charger stack. I think that game is pretty fruitful as well. And the Chiefs stack generally goes, when it hits, it goes the right way. It's Mahomes, it's Kelsey, it's Hill, it's super expensive. And you probably want to add Mike Williams to that or Eckler. Probably stay away from Keenan Allen in that spot as a bring back in that spot. But the one you want to go to that's expensive, but not quite as expensive. The quarterback's expensive. No one else really is. Kyler is going overlooked somehow this week, despite having the best matchup on the board, but he's the most expensive. I don't want to pay that much for a quarterback, and DeAndre Hopkins is dealing with these ribs problem. Where do the Jags get beat? They get beat deep. That's how Cortland Sutton beat them. That's how Brendan Cooks beat them in week 1. So who is the guy who actually does that for the Arizona Cardinals? Who's going to get behind this defense to take advantage? Well, last week we saw a bunch of Rondale Moore, and that's who everyone's going to this week along with DeAndre Hopkins. No. What you want to do is go to Christian Kirk at $5,400. He has big zero potential next to his name. Them's the risk of playing giant tournaments on DraftKings. But if he hits, no one has him in your lineup. And you know that he's going to be like 4 for 144 and 2 touchdowns because he's running 9 routes all day long. You use Kyler, then you use Christian Kirk, and then you can jam in. You don't even need jam in. You got Marvin Jones at $4,900. All of a sudden, you have this mini game stack, and it allows you to actually take the pieces you like from those other high total games because you've saved so much money at your 2 receiver spots to begin with. You know, you can use 2 more or 1 more or however else that you want to put in. You want to use some Cooper Kupp? Great. You want to use Austin Eckler? Even better. Maybe you want to use Mike Williams as your flex. Instead, hey, I can get Chris Carson into that lineup. There are plenty of options that you can go to when you stack Kyler with Christian Kirk and bring it back with Marvin Jones. It allows for lineup flexibility and gigantic upside in your lineup. If you want to check out the best cheap plays of the week, that's up on the DraftKings YouTube channel right now. And for my overall cheat sheet, head over to dknation.com.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to The Sweat, presented by DraftKings on Bally Sports Networks. We're thrilled to be with you here on this Sunday. I'm Jessie Coffield. Emerson Lotzia is around here somewhere. I can confirm DraftKings contributors Steve Buchanan and Reed Fowler are in the house. We're taking a trip to the Dog Pound, fellas.
Oh.
I know. A brand spanking new segment. You two are going to give us your favorite underdog bet of the week. And don't forget to tell the other guy why he's wrong, right? That's why we're here. We love that. Gentlemen, which underdog money lines are you pounding today? Steve, take it away.
Yeah, look, the Cincinnati Bengals, I think, bring one of the best underdog picks of the week going against the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Pittsburgh Steelers are dealing with a number of injuries right now. Most importantly, with Ben Roethlisberger with a pec injury, that doesn't sound very good if you're going to be a quarterback. But they're losing Deontay Johnson in this one. They have some injuries on the defense too as well. And Joe Burrow's gotten off to a little bit of a small start. Hasn't been exactly stellar like he was that number one pick before he was injured. But I love the connection with him and Jamar Chase. Already 2 touchdowns on the season for Burrow and Chase. I just think this is a great spot to get the Bengals at plus money, who are looking better and better every week. And quite frankly, I am not convinced that this Steelers defense is as good as everyone claims to be. And that offensive line has been in shambles. All new players on that offensive line. I think this is a great spot for the Bengals. I think they get their second win of the season here in week 3.
Well, also, too, Steve, TJ Watt, right?
Correct.
A big part of that defensive line for the Steelers. I like to argue with Steve. It's one of my favorite pastimes. It's been so much fun throughout the years, but I cannot argue with him on this one. We see close to 80% of the cash on the Bengals money line. So I think that bet is fantastic. I think it's just when you look at Cincinnati's division matchup, there is something to be said about Cincinnati. And look, Steve, Cincinnati's defense, too, as well, has been showing up, right? Something that's been an Achilles heel for the defense. We have young linebackers on this card, Logan Wilson, some players, Von Bell, in that secondary are playing extremely well, and they're healthy. That's a big thing, is that they're healthy, and Joe Mixon looks like an absolute stud. So I love that call on the Cincinnati money line, and the Dogs take that over the Steelers. Steelers don't have an identity. But when you look at this one might be a little bit more shaky. I think Steve can argue about this one. I got the Saints right now winning outright over the New England Patriots. What I think about this and why you want to pick these underdogs or look at these a different way is the variance, right? We don't know what type of Saints team is out there right now. Is it the Green Bay Packers Saints, where they put up 30,000 points, held them to 3 points, the Packers, or is it the Saints that we saw last week, right? We just don't know yet. And so I do think there is still some variance that you can play with, some leverage that you can play with here. And if you look at the Saints and their defense, I think it plays more towards defending the run. So taking out a guy like Damian Harris, making Mac Jones actually pass the ball for longer than, 8 to 10 yards. That might be a little bit difficult. Marshawn Lattimore is back in. I would argue that they will stay away from Marshawn Lattimore, but I do think that the Saints do present some value here at +3, Steve.
And you look at the money on how it's being distributed over on DraftKings Sportsbook, 66% of the handle is on the Saints. 60% of the bets are on the Saints to win this game outright. But here's what the Patriots do. The Patriots always take out the most prolific player on that offense. Who would be that guy? It's Alvin Kamara. It is not Jameis Winston. Don't spread rumors. But that is going to force Jameis Winston to throw the ball. Was great in week 1. Not so much in week 2. That was the Jameis Winston we all knew and loved when he was over in the Buccaneers. So if they're going to have to rely upon Jameis Winston to throw the ball against this Patriots defense, that's where the problems creep up. And that's also why this over-under is at 43.5, one of the lower ones on the slate. The Patriots have been a horrible team at hitting the over dating back to last year. It might have something to do with Cam Newton. I'm not going to make any speculations there, but I think you can create your own opinion on that one. But there's just not enough for me to like the Saints in this one. I think it's a coin toss. That's why the spread is as small as it is. I would probably lean on the Patriots side in this one, as they're a -155 favorite, which is obviously not an appealing number. I do agree with Reed. There is some things to like about the Saints in this one, but if they're going to take Alvin Kamara out, like what happened in week 2, there's just not enough to like about the Saints because that is probably the best guy to
Carolina's
catch the ball.
defense a little bit better than we anticipated,
Sure.
right, for last week. But also, too, if you look at the offensive side, the coaches on the offensive side for the Saints all had COVID, so they were out.
Right.
So, again, this is what you have to play with when you're looking at dogs, right, taking plus money, is that there is still some variance for the Saints. I do agree with Steve. And look, the Saints, this is technically their third road game.
Yeah.
Right? Because right now they just haven't played back at the Superdome. So that's a little worrisome, but still, I think there is some value with the Saints here.
All right, so Saints for you, Bengals for me. Those are our two underdog picks here in week 3. Of course, you can always go to DraftKings Sportsbook, take a look at the entire board. Billions of bets that you can make over on DraftKings Sportsbook. Right now, though, we just heard from Pat Mayo. Now we're going to hear from our guy, Ross Tucker. Emerson Lotzia, who was absent in this segment, he's going to be in the next segment as Ross Tucker goes over the entire board from week 3. Let's take it away.
Okay, time to get Tucker's takes on Sunday's NFL slate. Welcome back, Ross. I know week 1 was very kind to you. Now, week 2, not so much. You like the Eagles a lot. You like Jalen Hurts a lot. They let you down, but the good thing about the NFL is there's always next week. And next week is right now. So let me start by asking you, what do you have to say for your beloved Eagles falling to San Francisco last Sunday?
Well, listen, a couple of things. First of all, I played for 5 teams that weren't the Eagles. I don't know if I'm going to go beloved Eagles, but I did grow up an Eagles
Pennsylvania, right? You're from Pennsylvania?
I know. I did grow up an Eagles fan outside of Philly, and it is cool to do their preseason games on TV now. So I do like when the Eagles do well. Honestly, Emerson, they blew it, I thought. I thought they got the better of the action, especially in the first half. The Eagles totally dominated, over 200 yards. The Niners couldn't do anything, but red zone, goal line, that's what matters, man. You get stuffed on a 3rd and 1, get a field goal blocked. Then 1st and goal from the 1, you score no points. That's how you lose. So the good news is I thought the Eagles did a lot of positive things. The bad news is they were probably the better team and they lost. That's never good because there's going to be some weeks where they're just not the better team.
Yeah, at least you're not like Kevin Hart and you lost a bet and you were stuck wearing 49ers gear like later in the week, you know. But forget the past. Forget the past here, Ross. We're living in the now. Some real big game totals highlighting the week 3 action. Bucks at the Rams, Seahawks at the Vikings, Chargers at the Chiefs are all above 50 points. So which game are you most confident in taking the over?
You know, I think I'm going to go Bucks and the Rams. I'm a little surprised that neither one of these defenses has performed very well this year. You know, they were 2 of the best defenses in the NFL last year, but they both clearly taken a step back thus far. The Bucks will not have Jason Pierre-Paul, so they're going to have to find other ways to get a pass rush. And I think Sean McVay, Emerson, knows he has to match Brady touchdown pass for touchdown pass. I think it's going to be a shootout. I think it's going to be awesome. I think it's the game of the week, and I think it goes over the total.
All right, so you're not worried about it being a trap game for Tampa Bay. Maybe half an eye there on going to Foxborough in week 4?
No, I don't think so. I mean, look, Brady's well aware of what happens the following week, but he's about as dialed in as any guy I ever played with. I think he wants to beat the Rams. He knows that how important it is. As much as he wants to beat the Patriots, trust me, he'd rather win another Super Bowl. And beating the Rams gives him a much better chance at the number 1 seed, which gives them a much better chance to win the Super Bowl.
Right, and that's the stadium the Super Bowl will be played in this year as well. Justin Fields in. Andy Dalton out for Chicago. That's when the Bears visit the Browns at 1 o'clock Eastern time. Cleveland, a touchdown favorite. How much do you like the rookie's chances, though, of keeping this close in his first start of the season and covering the spread, Ross?
This is a stay-away game. Ooh. I have absolutely no idea. I never say that. But, man, you got to have some serious stones to bet on a rookie quarterback making his first start. I mean, he can come out and make a bunch of plays. I think he'll make some plays, and maybe the Bears win. I also wouldn't be surprised if he throws 2 or 3 picks and the Browns win by 4 touchdowns. I mean, both of those are within the realm of possibility. There's that much variance possible. I would say stay away from this one unless you have a really good feel for how Justin Fields is going to play. I certainly don't.
Which other Sunday spread do you like in week 3?
You know what? I like Green Bay. Ooh. I like the Packers in San Francisco. I'm a little bit nervous about the Packers defense. It seemed like Jared Goff had 10 seconds to throw, especially in the first half of Monday night's game against Green Bay. But I felt like Aaron Rodgers kind of got his groove back like Stella in that movie one time. And I think this is a toss-up game. I'm a big believer, Emerson. Anywhere you see me, Even Money Podcast, anything on social media, if I think it's a toss-up game and one team is getting a field goal or more, I'm taking them, dude. Because I think there's like a 50% chance they win. And then if they lose, there's a decent chance it's only by a point or 2, or maybe you push with 3. Take Green Bay in the points.
Yeah, 49ers 2-6 ATS in their last 8 home games as well. So I like this pick by you. What's your favorite game total, and why are you taking the over or under on it?
So it's Monday Night Football, and it's the under, and I don't understand this total. I mean, the Eagles have given up 23 points total in 2 games. Now they're going against a Cowboys bunch that barely put up 20 last week against the Chargers. They don't have Lael Collins, don't have Michael Gallup. Meanwhile, the Cowboys defense is way better than it was last year. Micah Parsons, who I first saw play his 3rd game in 9th grade, is an absolute machine. The Eagles offense not exactly firing on all cylinders. Emerson, I don't like the under in Monday Night Football. I love it.
You two are amazing, especially Ross. We got about a half an hour until lock, so make sure that you go get those lineups in. We're closing in 30 minutes, right? So, make sure. But right now we got to take a quick break. Your local pregame shows are next. But for those of you staying with us, we're going to be back with some fantasy point projections for some of the NFL's top players on our Put It on the Board segment. Plus, we're going to take a look ahead to this week's primetime matchups on Sunday and Monday Night Football. That's all coming up next as the Sweat, presented by DraftKings, continues here on Bally Sports Networks.
DraftKings Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner of the NFL, and during Week 3, new customers can bet $1 on any NFL game and get $150 automatically. Plus, new fantasy players can play free for millions when you make your first deposit. Just download any of the apps and use promo code SWEAT.
Welcome back to The Sweat presented by DraftKings on Bally Sports Networks, everybody. Friendly reminder that today is a great day to win $1 million. Another Millie Maker is available right now on DraftKings, so get after it. As for last week's $1 million contest winner, this lineup by Topher 1072 scored more than 233 points. He won a cool and a big old fat Millie. The Rondale Moore play, by the way, 2.4% ownership, that was key, but hey, north of 50 fantasy points out of Derrick Henry didn't hurt either. That was a monster second half for him. Congrats to Topher 1072, who now also has earned a seat to the DraftKings Tournament of Champions, and good luck to everyone entering our Week 3 Millie Maker. Again, just $20 to get into that thing. Not sure what to do with your lineup this week? Hey, it's okay. We have a panel for that. DraftKings contributors, Reed Fowler, Pierce Dietrich, Jeff Ulrich. I love this segment. You guys love it too. Put it on the board. You guys write down how many fantasy points you think the following players will have. Let's start with Chicago quarterback Justin Fields. He's 5-2 at Cleveland. That's $3,000 less than the highest priced quarterback on this slate. He was not pretty in week 2, but let's go ahead and see it, gentlemen. Show us what you are projecting for Justin Fields. So we have 24 for Jeff.
Count down.
25 for Pierce, and 25.7 from Reed. So, Reed, you have the highest expectations for this kid.
I do.
Not by much. All of you guys have north of 20 points. Why do you think he's going to have such a good day?
Well, Jessie would always comment on how great my picture is, and so I'm already missing her in this segment.
Oh,
I digress.
Wow.
I digress. I tried really hard on that one. No, the rushing ability, right? We know that the rushing ability, the upside is there for Justin Fields. When you take a look at Cleveland, they do have some strong defensive ends that could potentially contain someone like Fields, but I do imagine that he's going to get you, and like he did in week 2, over double-digit rushing upside in terms of his attempts, and I think he can get at least 50 yards in that matchup as well against his Cleveland defense. I do think his his passing yards prop, it's low at 211. I think it goes over that right now, and so I do think he can get you a passing touchdown and a rushing touchdown. So I think I have high expectations of this guy, like I have been for the last, I don't know, month, 2 months.
Yeah, you have been oddly obsessed with him. Pierce, talk to us. What you expect out of him today?
Did we all just have the same number?
It was pretty close.
Pretty close.
We all just became best friends. It's great. It's awesome.
The Wolfpack.
Sweet. I like the play a lot. I think Fields is going to be just under 200 yards passing, just under 100 yards rushing, a touchdown through the air, a touchdown on the ground. The Browns' defensive line's got big names. They're not gelling, though, and they're making mistakes, which is opening up rushing lanes, which we'll see Fields running through, extending plays, moving the chains. We know that the Browns have struggled, one of the worst in football on third down. It's not going to be pretty, but they'll move the ball. They move the chains. That means more plays. That means more points for Fields.
Jeff, the Browns haven't allowed many rushing yards to quarterbacks, but they have been beaten for 2 rushing touchdowns by the position.
Yeah, look, I mean, I had 24 points. I thought I was going to be the most bullish on Justin Fields, and it turns out I was the least. But this is the guy who's already averaging about 6 yards per carry, took 10 carries last week, didn't even play the whole game. Justin Fields just missed a rushing touchdown and a passing touchdown last week. If both those hit, his salary would be way up, and his expectations would be through the roof. Because he turned it over instead, people don't have expectations. This is a really good spot. The guys have already mentioned it. I expect him to rush for a touchdown and throw for one, too. It's pretty much exactly the same page. He might even approach the rushing bonus if this game gets a little bit faster paced and a little wild. So, yeah, I think that we're all kind of maybe at this, closer to the ceiling than the floor for Justin Fields, but I think it's more likely we see 22, 23-plus points from him.
All right, let's go to Kansas City. We're going to talk about their running back, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He's 4-8. 4-8 against the Chargers today. This is a guy whose salary has had a drastic drop-off because of a lack of production. He was 6-6 week 1, 6-7 week 2. He's now 4-8. Went 10 points week 1, 3 last week. Gentlemen, let's see it. Show us what you got. Sweet T. Fowler with a sad face
Thank
there.
you.
That's really great artwork by
Thank
you. 8 points. Jeff expects a bounce back game, and then Pierce 10. So, Jeff, why do you expect him to bounce back today?
Okay, first of all, let me preface this by saying that this might be it for CEH. This guy, if he can't perform against the Chargers here, who are allowing, over 5 yards per carry right now on the season, this might be it. This guy has not really been that good since he came in the league. 4.3 yards per carry last year. It's 3.3 this year. He's got the fumble issues. Maybe there's an injury lingering, but the point is, this is a matchup he should take advantage of. I'm going to give him one more week. I'm going to be strong. I'm going to be positive. I always take I like the overs, Emerson.
Yep.
I'm going to be positive here. I think he does come out. Look, it's the Chiefs offense. He's going to get red zone opportunities. If he just puts up like 4.2 yards per carry, he's probably going to find the end zone too. Maybe he gets re-involved in the passing game, but this is a guy who has not even been able to get rid of Darrell Williams. So this is kind of a make or break it. If we had him on next week and he busts this week, I'm going like 5 points. But I'm going to be strong for one more week on CEH.
All right, Jeff, being optimistic. Reed, you are not.
Yeah, like when you have an investment that's just dwindling down, and you hope that last push up.
Paper hands.
Exactly. Yes. Jeff has diamond hands at CEH, and that's not the case, man. That is not the case. Jump ship here. If you look at what he's done in his 15 games, Jeff, dating back from last year, this guy has only rushed over 50 yards 7 times. And Patrick Mahomes does not target CEH. He's got like an 8.5% target share, and that's just not going to do it. That's what you need, and that's why we loved him so much. He's just not getting it. He's just there. The Chiefs are just passing a lot more to Byron Pringle, to Demarcus Robinson, to Travis Kelce will have Derwin James. So maybe some of that goes to CEH, but it's just not formulating right now. So I'm out on CEH. You got to jump ship, Jeff.
But Pierce, you think maybe he's too cheap to pass up on for cash games?
There's a reason why he's cheap, and I'm with Reed. I am not going to hodl CEH anymore.
Paper hands.
Get out of this. It's nothing against his talent. He's a good running back, but this is just not the right system for him. There's too many mouths to feed. They go elsewhere. If he falls in the end zone, I'll be wrong. But if he doesn't, then Reed and I will be right.
All right, guys. We saw him in last week's Millie Maker. We talked about it just a second ago. Cardinals wide receiver Rondale Moore. So he has $5,000. He's on the road. It's a grueling test in Jacksonville. Unlike CEH, this is a guy whose salary continues to increase because he is just a dude who has taken brilliantly to Coach Cliff Kingsbury's offense here. Let's see what you three expect out of the rookie today. Show me the boards, dude. 11.7 from Reed, 11 for Pierce. Guys on the same page again. And in that same neck of the woods, 888 for Jeff. Pierce, why do you expect a little bit of regression today?
Well, I don't know if it's a regression. It's just the game. This is going to be a lot like week one. And week one, he had a big game because of one big play. You take away that big play this week, and he really isn't going to do that much. They're not going to need anything against him in this, gargantuan task against the Jaguars. This game should be over pretty quickly. They're just not going to need him.
Jeff, we're talking a gargantuan 13 targets here through 2 games for a rookie.
It's admittedly really nice targeting, but he's still only playing about 50% of the snaps. And is he just going to suddenly kick Christian Kirk off the field? Like, Christian Kirk's pretty good. Rondale Moore might be better long term, but I don't think that change is going to happen where you're just going to see Kirk take like 40% of the snaps. The Cardinals do like to interchange these bottom kind of 2 wide receivers, like wide receiver 3 and 4. They don't always go to the 4 wide out wide all the time. So more snaps aren't going to be that big. And then Pierce just mentioned it. Like, I think this is a better spot to play like Chase Edmonds, who's averaging like 5.5 yards per carry, because this game could be over so quick. And Edmonds just goes for a couple explosive runs late in this game. So I'm not super bullish on him here. Could he break another big play and put up like 20 plus points again? Yeah, absolutely. He could. Yeah. But I think that the snap count and the usage says you're probably better fading him here.
Reed got that big playability in Jacksonville without starting corner CJ Henderson.
Yeah, that's going to be rough for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Look, I mean, DeAndre Hopkins is coming in this game less than 100%, right? His availability and it was in question, but I think he's going to play in the latest reports. But if that's a decoy, then Rondale Moore is going to be the guy, right? So maybe this is more of his floor or his mid-price as opposed to his ceiling or his points, excuse me. If you take a look at his snap share, though, it was around that mid-40% range. That's definitely going to increase because Kyler is looking for this guy when he improvises. And when you have someone speedy like Rondale Moore, the reason why he's there, this is exactly what you bring him in for. 67, 68 receiving yards, 5 catches. That's what I have him about. If he gets a touchdown, you're getting that upside again.
All right, let's go to a top 4 priced tight end right now, guys. We're in Detroit. We're talking TJ Hawkinson. He has long lettuce now. He's letting his hair grow out. He's 5'2" against Baltimore. He is averaging north of 23 fantasy points per game. And as you look at his player card, he has 8 receptions in each of his first 2 games this season. So how high are expectations for this guy according to you? 3. Let's see the whiteboard, please. Wow, 27.5. 20 from Pierce. 24 for Reed. Pierce, I'll start with you. Wow, why just 20?
Why just 20? I thought 20 was a pretty good number.
It is.
These guys are a little aggressive. It's a good spot. Baltimore has struggled with their, they've had some really tough tight end matchups to start the season. Their average pass defense is looking worse this year. And honestly, Hawkinson in this offense could play well in a close game, but in a game where they're going to be passing a lot, maybe they're right. Maybe 27. I'm going up to 27.
There we go. There it is.
Ooh, wow. Welcome to the top of the mountain where like Reed is. Reed, you have high expectations.
Yeah, the lettuce is fantastic. I also think he's sporting like a beard goatee. This guy's just a rock star, right? And the Ravens getting like the top 3 tight ends to start off. It's been pretty tough for them. But look at what he does in the slot, guys. The routes run, the slot snaps, the target share, everything points to this guy being the offense right now, DeAndre Swift. I like both of them in this game. They're going to have to score a lot of points. So, 9 catches, 95 yards, and a touchdown, not out of the realm of possibility for TJ Hawkinson.
Right, Jeff, the Lions have looked this way 20 times. They also, the Ravens, rank last in the league defending tight ends, but they've also faced Darren Waller and Travis Kelce.
Yeah. I wouldn't, but Pierce is right. Like, it is a weakness of their team. They weren't great against the tight end position last year, and it boils down to this. TJ Hawkinson has 20 targets. The next highest guy on the Lions has 14, and it's Quintez Cephus. Like, Jared Goff has a type. He likes the big targets over the middle. This is an all-year thing. TJ Hawkinson might beat out one of Waller or Kelce by the end of the year. Yep. Detroit is throwing the ball 46.5 times per game. They have a terrible defense that's now banged up in the secondary, and they got Lamar Jackson into town, who's playing really, really well. Like, this isn't going to change. They're going to be throwing all game. Teams already throw a lot against Baltimore. I absolutely love the spot for Hawkinson, so I almost feel like you could see even more than I put up. Maybe I'm too bullish. Again, I'm like the over guy, but I really like Hawkinson this week. Again, I don't feel like enough people are talking about him in general for DFS either. Love him on DraftKings for the big team.
Yeah, Jeff, and the Detroit side too. Jamie Collins has been in trade talks all throughout the week. I don't know if he's playing, so it's good for the Ravens as well. And the Ravens blitz 1,000% of the time. So if that's the case in single coverage with TJ Hawkinson, he might absolutely destroy this defense.
All right, well, apologies to Tom Brady. We have run out of time. Until next week, my little artistic math magicians, we have to step aside for a few minutes, but don't be sad. Instead, be awesome. We have the best primetime picks for Sunday night, Monday night's games waiting for you on the other side of this break as the Sweat presented by DraftKings chugs along here on Bally Sports Networks.
DraftKings Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner of the NFL, and during Week 3, new customers can bet $1 on any NFL game and get $150 automatically. Plus, new fantasy players can play free for millions when you make your first deposit. Just download any of the apps and use promo code SWEAT.
Welcome back to The Sweat, presented by DraftKings on Bally Sports Networks. I'm Jessie Coffield, and I'm not alone. I'm joined by DraftKings contributors Pierce Dietrich and Jeff Ulrich to get their primetime picks. Fellas, need your favorite DFS play for Packers 49ers on Sunday Night Football. Jeff, who are you rolling with?
I'm going to roll with Davante Adams here. Look, all things considered, we saw the big Aaron Jones game last time out from the Packers, but I think it's Davante Adams against the San Francisco defense that gets off here. San Francisco banged up already. I mean, it's week 3, and it's just the same story. Jason Verrett out for the year. Mosley is questionable for this game. That's their top 2 corners. And now you got Davante Adams coming to town. We've already seen this defense get kind of carved up by the Detroit Lions. I know they were a bit better last week, but with Aaron Rodgers and company here, I like betting on Davante Adams. Davante Adams owners, if you're waiting for the big week, it's probably going to come here. I really like the Packers here, and I like captaining Davante Adams.
All right, Pierce, what's your favorite DFS play for Packers 49ers?
Trey Sermon, San Francisco has been one of the most rush-heavy teams in the first 2 weeks, 33 carries per game. He's the only healthy running back, so 15, 20 carries at a guy that's really cheap. And then also San Francisco's implied for almost 4 touchdowns. If he's the only running back, that means he's pretty much the only goal line running back. I really like his chances of finding the end zone.
All right, Jeff, how about your favorite bet for Packers 49ers?
Yeah, I'm going to keep this one simple. I from the start of the week, I haven't really understood this line, but Packers plus 145 on the money line. What are we basing this Packers line off of? One bad game against New Orleans? I mean, okay, yeah, they struggled for the first half against Detroit too, but that defense started to get going. This is a team that's averaging under 1 sack per game. That number is going to come up. I like the way they played in the second half against Detroit. They get a little bit of pressure on Jimmy Garoppolo. He's another statuesque quarterback back there. Pierce mentioned, they're starting Trey Sermon. They're down to, their RB4. Trey Sermon couldn't even beat out Eli Mitchell in training camp. And then you've got all the injuries I just mentioned with Davante Adams and Aaron Rodgers. If this is a shootout, that's fine. I'll take Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams over Jimmy Garoppolo, for sure, 100%, all day. I really like the Packers here. I think this is just a gift line here on the money line.
Ooh, Pierce, you like Jimmy G.
I do. Jimmy Garoppolo over 1.5 touchdowns. Nothing against Trey Sermon. He'll work in DFS, but real life, probably not the greatest running back, as Jeff mentioned, didn't make the team for week 1. So you got to think that they're going to rely on the pass a little bit here. And then Shanahan's seen what we've all seen with Green Bay. Kevin King last year and this year is an absolute liability. Their rookie cornerback, Eric Stokes, that they drafted, is not playing well. Detroit was able to exploit this team in the red zone. I think Jimmy Garoppolo, if they're implied for 4 touchdowns, several of them are going to come via his arm.
All right, Jeff, how about your favorite DFS play for Eagles Cowboys?
I just keep it simple, man. I love paying up for Jalen Hurts in this spot. Again, maybe sentiment is down a little bit on Hurts after he kind of got shut down a little bit by San Francisco. But look, he still went for over 20 DraftKings points in that game. Jalen Hurts is going to get there for you. And again, we've got a point total here, over 50 on the over-under now between Dallas and Philly. Dallas already allowing over 300 yards passing per game. And if you look at Jalen Hurts, he can get that long ball for you. Over 3 of his 5 starts, Jesse, in the NFL, he's gone 260 yards or over. He's got Devonta Smith to work with now in this matchup, who I'll get to in a second. But I think you pay up for Jalen Hurts here. He's probably got a better chance, I think, of the high pass attempts just because the Eagles are coming in as underdogs.
All right, Pierce, who are you going with?
You got to be different on these showdown slates. I'm going to take Quez Watkins. The Cowboys have given up 300 yards passing in their first 2 games. They're the second worst team in football against the slot. Quez Watkins is your slot receiver. Most people are going to take the value option in Cedric Wilson. So you pay up a little bit, take the guy that's not on the field very often. You can be really unique in your showdown lineups.
All right, Jeff, you're liking a Devonta Smith prop for your favorite bet for Eagles Cowboys.
Yeah, again, I mean, I mentioned, I love the passing attack here for the Eagles in this game. Dallas already giving up to the wide receiver position, 32 receptions. Devonta Smith, over 4.5 receptions, plus 105. We're getting plus money to take the over here. I love that. Devonta Smith leads all the Eagles in targets with 15. He's playing about 80% of the snaps. Yeah, he had a slow week too, but again, San Francisco did a good job of getting pressure on the quarterback. It's all things that Dallas's defense isn't going to do. We saw Devonta Smith dominate a weak defense in week 1. I think he dominates this Dallas defense. And at the very least, I love his chances to get 5 or more receptions here. So give me over on Devonta Smith's reception total at plus money.
All right, you're also taking an over, Pierce. Who are you going with?
Same thing. I'll take Jalen Hurts over 1.5 touchdown passes. As Jeff mentioned, Dallas defense, it's weak. Last time Philly faced a weak defense, he had 3 touchdown passes. Dallas has given up over 400 yards in both of the first 2 games. Philly will move the ball. Philly will get to the red zone. I think the touchdowns are going to come via Jalen Hurts.
All right, great work, you two. While we're on the subject of the Cowboys, now would be a great time to catch up with DallasCowboys.com beat writer Nick Eatman. Here he is with Adam Kaufman. Take a look.
Nick, coming up on Monday, it'll be the final game of Week 3. Dallas, after being the first game of Week 1, final game here on Week 3 against Philadelphia. Regardless of how it may have felt in LA, physically you will be home in Dallas for this game. What should we expect against a team that is also 1-1 and so far has played very good defense?
Well, I mean, if you love football and you watch it from start to finish, if you don't want to do that and you got to do stuff around the house, turn it on about 10 o'clock Central Time or whatever. It'll be a close game in the fourth quarter, and they'll be duking it out to try to win the game. That's what I expect. That's what an NFC East game is. It doesn't matter if the NFC East is up or down or in the pack or whatever it is. These games are tight. Look at the Giants and Washington just the other day. Same type of thing. We don't expect their records to be as close, but Cowboys and Giants could be completely different this year, and they're going to have a tough game. Cowboys and Eagles this week, same thing. I just think it'll be a battle on Monday, and also these games. And now Monday night, I know the Packers kind of pulled away, Monday night to beat the Lions, but I think for the most part, Dallas and Philadelphia, it'll be a battle, and I expect nothing short of that this week.
Eagles are banged up. They're young. They've got a couple of hurt veteran Pro Bowlers as well. So what can Dallas hope to exploit here?
Well, I mean, with Brandon Graham being out defensive end, I mean, that's certainly going to hurt them. And, I know Fletcher Cox is still Fletcher Cox and they'll get after him. I mean, I think that you've got to figure out ways, you just pick on someone. That's kind of what you do. I mean, this sounds like, you're not trying to like bully a kid like the Cobra Kai did to Daniel, but you do find a spot and you say, all right, where can we exploit it? And that's what they did against the Chargers. That right tackle that was replacing Brian Bulaga. I mean, Micah Parsons, they just kind of wore him out as the game goes on. So you find a weak spot, you find a corner or a safety or a linebacker mismatches, and then you go and that's what they can do. And that's what you can do when you have 4, 5, 6 weapons on offense like the Cowboys seem to have.
All right, look, if we're going to close this out with Cobra Kai, we know that if you're building a fantasy lineup, Miguel's going to be a stud for you. Who's going to be a star for Dallas coming up in Week 3?
Let me figure out here. Let me think about it. I think let's go with Zeke. Let's go with Zeke on that one because I do think Pollard's going to get, we'll start looking at him, and I think there'll be a lot of more inside runs there. I expect them to get down to the goal line. A lot of pass interference, and that's the thing about the Eagles. They've had some pass interference penalties that can get you down inside the 5, inside the 1. I'm going to go with Zeke as a pretty good play there.
Hey, you. Welcome back. We're closing out on lock, but you still have time to get a lineup in. And, hey, guys, and let me just finish this real quick.
Yeah, no problem.
Take aim at $1 million. You can play in the NFL $4.5 million fantasy football millionaire contest, right? Meow on DraftKings. You get a shot at that big cash prize. Just $20 to enter. So go lift up all those couch cushions right now. Not only will the winner earn $1 million, you also get to pick up a seat in the DraftKings Tournament of Champions in January, which will feature another $1 million prize. So head over to the DraftKings lobby now and enter. Let's work up a sweat, shall we?
I'm down.
All right, Reed and Steve here on the desk with me. Julian is back as well. Give us a last-minute DFS take. This is what we need, something you may be rethinking before lock. I'll let you go first.
More Minnesota in my life here. Heard that's a lot of great restaurants, a lot of great lakes, 10,000, I believe.
That's
lakes.
right. They have a huge mall there, too, with a bunch of hat stores.
But if you take a look, Kirk Cousins, I think he's coming in at like 3% roster percentage projected. 25 average DK fantasy points. And you have one of the best receiving cores in terms of DFS production, right? I mean, Thielen's just a touchdown machine, and Kirk Cousins can run the ball. So I want more Minnesota. This is a 53.5 game total. I want more Minnesota in my life here, Steve.
Steve, what about you? What's going through that beautiful brain of yours?
It's actually kind of the opposite of what Reed just brought up. Alexander Mattison is quickly becoming one of the chalk plays on this slate now because Dalvin Cook is, even if he is active, he's not going to be playing much. There is a lot of guys in that range that I think are in just as good as matchups, and the ownership simply is not going to be there. Saquon Barkley at 6,500 and a great spot against the Falcons. Joe Mixon against a overrated run defense in the Steelers. Like that to win. That's my favorite underdog. So why I would obviously like Joe Mixon in that spot. Even someone like Chris Carson going against the Vikings. Vikings can't stop the run. So if Madison is going to be garnering all of that ownership, especially in tournaments, I think those three guys, even Najee Harris, you can throw him in the mix there too as well. A lot of guys priced a little bit more, I think, are in just as good as spots, and they're not going to have half the ownership. So I think it's something to consider when you're making your lineups in those big field tournaments.
Jay Glazer reporting that Dalvin Cook is out. Also, Darrell Henderson is going to be out for the Rams. Jules, what about you, man? Rethinking anything right now?
Yeah, I like Steve's point a lot of Madison becoming a popular play and pivoting off to some other running backs or even just flex plays in that same neighborhood. For me, there's a lot of plays opening up on this slate, just in general, at quarterback, at wide receiver, at running back, even tight end. So as much as I would love to have a strong defense, I know everybody wants to roster Denver hosting the Jets after seeing Zach Wilson throw all those interceptions last week and now going to a tough road environment. It's a week to punt on defense because there are so many plays. You got to bite the bullet and trust teams like Steve's underdog Bengals on the road, $2,100. The Titans have been awful on defense, but $2,400 at home against Carson Wentz with not one but two bad ankles. I think it is a week that you have to plug your nose and play one of these cheap defenses because there's a lot that I want to fit in my lineup.
All right, well, speaking of that then, Jules, let's go ahead and make it rain. So give us your DFS play that is absolutely going to make it rain cash today.
Well, one of those guys that I want to save on defense to afford is Cooper Kupp, whose salary is going up, but he's not ridiculously expensive, sitting there at $6,800 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's averaging over 33 DraftKings points per game. He has gelled perfectly with Matthew Stafford so far, and put up big games. He's been very balanced against both the Bears and Colts. Not terrible matchups, but nothing crazy. And then people maybe shy away. I know Cooper Kupp's going to be a popular play regardless, but some people see the Tampa Bay defense and potentially back down. Front seven, fantastic. That secondary, not so much. We saw Dallas shredded up. We saw Atlanta have success against the Bucs and threaten in that game before Matt Ryan choked them through those 2 pick sixes. Cooper Kupp, I think, is going to give this Tampa secondary some major issues today. And, not necessarily a hot take because Cooper Kupp has been fantastic already, but this is not a spot that he slows down. He's going to continue putting up the numbers that he has so far with a huge quarterback upgrade to Matthew Stafford this season.
All right, we got 1 minute left in show. You're going with a receiver, too.
Thanks for the time, Julian.
Nobody told me that. Go quick.
Got Tyler Lockett going against Bashaud Breeland, who's been absolutely roasted so far this season. He's already allowed 3 touchdowns. No other corner has allowed more than 3 touchdowns so far this season. 155 yards on 12 receptions. Holy crap, what's he doing? Reed, what's yours?
Hey, we got 45 seconds
Austin Eckler. Look, 50% of the team short down and distance snaps are on 67% of the attempts inside the 5-yard line is finally going to Austin Eckler. Kansas City's rush defense has not been great in the first 2 weeks. This guy should be a focal point in a high scoring game. Emerson.
Hopefully you got all that.
Maybe Julian is back in studio next week so he can hear the time commands from our producer.
Right. Or just look at a clock.
Confirm.
Clock is good.
I don't know if he has service, though.
So we're back here on Bally Sports Networks again next Sunday at noon. Everyone, enjoy this Week 3 Sunday slate. Thanks for watching.